Welcome to the Parsha Perspective. Each week, we will delve deep in a weekly Torah portion to find a practical and insightful way to enhance your daily life. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Rabbi Shalom Yamini, and each week we will look into the weekly Torah portion to find practical and insightful ways to enhance your daily life. This week's Parsha Perspective is in honor of our homeland, Eretz Yisroel. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu, may God continue to protect our brave soldiers, and may God return all the hostages from Gaza immediately. This week's Parsha Perspective is in honor of the Refuah Shalema of Raphael Yecheskel ben Mazal and all those who need to experience a speedy and complete recovery. This week's Parsha Perspective is in loving memory of Edward ben Efraim, Shlomo ben Edward, and Yirachmiel Daniel ben Gedalia. May their souls be uplifted and may their memories be a blessing. This week's Torah portion is Parshas Korach, carried by vision. Before I begin, this upcoming Sunday is Gimmel Tammuz, the 3rd of Tammuz, marking 31 years since the Histalkus of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Lusnerson, a blessed memory. Traditionally, this day is called for reflection, recommitment, and overall meaningful and positive action. Our Parsha begins with Korach, a wealthy and influential man from Shevet Levi, the tribe of Levi, launching a rebellion against Moshe Rabbeinu and his brother Aaron HaKohen. Along with several ringleaders, he gathers 250 men and accuses Moshe and Aaron of nepotism and power hoarding. They specifically objected to Moshe's appointment of his brother Aaron as the Kohen Gadol, as the high priest. They argued that the entire nation was holy and therefore no individual should be elevated above another. And according to them, Moshe Rabbeinu had no right to lead the Jewish people at all. And in response, Moshe Rabbeinu proposed a test. The following day, each man brought an incense offering, a keteris offering in the Mishkan. And through this, God would reveal who was truly chosen as the high priest, as a Kohen Gadol. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu was enraged by the nation's support of Korach's rebellion and threatened to destroy them. But Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron HaKohen prayed for the people, and the decree was averted. Instead, the earth opened up and swallowed Korach and his ringleaders. Still, Korach's downfall did not silence the complaints. The rebellion continued to simmer. So God commanded Moshe Rabbeinu to conduct the test of the sticks, the test of the staffs. Each tribe would submit one leader that would inscribe his name on a wooden stick, and all 12 would be placed overnight in the Holy of Holies, and the staff that would be blossomed would reveal as God's chosen Kohen Gadol and God's chosen leader. Moshe Rabbeinu followed God's instructions, and the next day the leaders returned. And Moshe presented all the staffs, but Aaron's blossomed with flowers, with buds, and with ripe almonds. And this miracle left no room for doubt. Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron HaKohen were God's chosen leaders and high priest and representative on behalf of the Jewish people. However, a question comes to mind. After Korach and his followers were swallowed whole by the earth in a terrifying display of divine judgment, why did the rebellion not end? Why did the unrest still linger in the Jewish camp, pushing God to command yet another test and the miraculous blossoming of the staffs of the sticks? Wasn't the earth opening up enough of a sign? Why was it necessary to prove Moshe Rabbeinu's leadership, Aaron HaKohen's leadership again, and this time specifically with almond blossoming? Rashi, Rav Shlomo Yitzchaki, the leading Torah commentary, gives a simple explanation. And he writes that although Korach and his followers were swallowed whole by the earth in a very miraculous punishment, many people remained unconvinced. Some claimed that Moshe had orchestrated the entire event to preserve his own authority, and they dismissed this punishment as a setup, not as a sign from God. And therefore God commands a different kind of sign, one that would be peaceful, quiet, and undeniably godly. Each tribal leader would place their stick, their staff in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, in the Holy of Holies, and only Aaron's stick would blossom with flowers and with ripe almonds. And it didn't fall from the heaven. It didn't shake the earth, it simply grew. Life from the lifeless. And this miracle wasn't about punishment. It was about proof. God wanted to demonstrate to the Jewish nation that Aaron's leadership was not earned through force or politics. It was divine appointment, and his position came from God alone. However, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, gives a deeper and more profound explanation. And he writes that the test of the sticks of the staffs was not simply a response to a rebellion, it was a lesson in what true leadership really is. Korach's claim was that all Jews were holy. And if that's true, he argued, then no person should rise above another. But that argument, although it sounds spiritual and even democratic, it misunderstands the role of a leader. A true leader does not rise to dominate, they rise to serve. That is why God did not respond with another act of destruction, of punishment. Instead, he acts with a quiet sign of life, a dry stick placed in the Holies of Holies, blossoming overnight with flowers and almonds. This test was not a show of force. It was a message of purpose. A true leader is someone who helps others grow. And the stick that bore fruit showed that Aaron's leadership was not about position, it was about impact. And the Rebbe explains that this test was not about proving power, it was about revealing truth. A leader is someone who carries the burden so others can rise. Someone who turns something dry and lifeless into something blooming and alive. And that's the test of the stick, not one who holds it, but one who helps others grow. And in a world filled with noise, we must ask ourselves, who helps us grow? Who speaks truth? Who sacrifices quietly so others can thrive? That's the person whose leadership is real, and that is the staff that blooms. This profound lesson from the Lubavitcher Rebbe is ever more relevant as we approach Gimmel Tammuz, a day that challenges our perceptions and emotions. What does it mean to feel connected to the Lubavitcher Rebbe today? Where does one even truly begin to grasp what happened on Gimmel Tammuz, and what does that represent, and how are we meant to feel when faced with both the absence and presence on the same day? There are many right answers, many paths one can take, but one thing remains unchanged: the Rebbe's mission. Since assuming leadership in 1951 on the 10th of Shvat, the Rebbe's objective has been clear: to infuse divine light into this dark world. The Rebbe gave everything for this goal, carrying the weight of our generation on his shoulders. The Rebbe poured himself into others so they could grow. Not simply a leader of people, but a mirror, a catalyst of their growth. The Rebbe illuminated the path of countless of individuals, offering spiritual guidance, inspiration, and unwavering dedication. And his teachings and actions continue to infuse our lives with holiness and connection to God, to our Father in heaven. The Rebbe challenged us to join his mission by adding light through performing even the simplest of commandments of mitzvahs, preparing our world for the Geula Amitis V'Hashlema, the ultimate redemption may be speedily in our days. I want to conclude with part of the last Hasidic discourse, the last mimer given to us by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, called V'ata Tetzaveh, and you shall command. The mimer says, a tzaddik, a righteous person, brings you to discover who you truly are. You are light. If the times are times of light, he can awaken you to know that light. If the times are dark, he can squeeze out the pure oil within you and set you on fire so you become a bright light in the darkness. Have a meaningful and inspirational Shabbos. Thank you for tuning in to the Parsha Perspective. Check out our website, theparshaperspective.com. Send thoughts and comments to theparshaperspective@gmail.com. Till next time, thanks for listening.